go back but turn back. I don't think you do get because you don't go back so far. This week on Real Talk with Jean Price.
Now that I was becoming a single mother, I had no idea who I was or what my brand was. Once my daughter was born, I just went into survival mode. And it wasn't pretty, but it all got done. The breastfeeding, the burping, the changing, the round-the-clock feedings, the shushing, the bouncing, the 104 fevers, the ear infections, everything that came with being a single mom, or a mom, my daughter and I made it through.
So I went on to Google, and I typed in black fathers in Toronto. And what I got was hits on pimps, deadbeats, and a bunch of negative stuff. So I took it a step further. In my neck of the woods in Malvern, they have this family agency that had great programs for young parents. So I assumed that they had a program for fathers. I went there and the receptionist looked at me when I asked her my question. She looked confused. And she's like, we have programs for mothers, grandmothers, guardians, but nothing for fathers, not to mention black fathers. So I remember the feeling I had when I left the office. I was frustrated, and again, feeling isolated. Because I'm saying if a family agency has all these programs, but nothing for fathers, then you're telling me my role is not important.
Good evening. Welcome to Real Talk with Jean Price. I'm glad you tuned in today. This is going to be a great show. We're going to have a wonderful conversation with two people, two perspectives, and we're going to see what you think about it. But first, you have time to go and get your family members, your friends, all those whom you know, and tell them to like, tell them to comment, and please tell them to share, where we have real talk, real conversations, and we talk about real issues that are facing us in the world today. You know, since COVID-19, they've termed the world the new normal. But how many of us can dare say that the new normal is really not normal? Because we still face issues that need to be talked about and perspectives that need to be shared. So saying that, it is definitely an honor and a privilege to introduce my guest tonight, where they're going to open up the patterns and open up to tell us what it's like to be a single mother. And also, let's not forget, there are men out there that are really doing the work, single fathers. So I want to welcome my guests tonight. I want to welcome Miss Erica McAllister and Mr. Brian Gibson to Real Talk with Jean Price. Welcome to the show tonight.
Hello.
How are you both?
Hi, hello.
Good. How are you?
Thank you so
Excellent,
much.
thank you.
Thank you for coming on the show tonight. I'm very excited about it because I really want the audience to hear your perspectives and, you know, what life has been like for you. But first, I'm going to turn to Erica. Ladies first. Erica, why don't you just go ahead and greet our viewing audience and tell us a little bit about yourself?
Hello, everyone. I'm Erica McAllister. I am a single mother of two boys, and I work a full-time job. I work for the U.S. Postal Service, and that's about it.
Yeah, that's good. What about you, Mr. Gibson? Tell us a little bit about yourself.
Yes, my name is Brian Gibson, single father of three. I'm a relationship manager for Bank of America and also a lending specialist. I live in Atlanta, Georgia. I'm originally from Springfield Gardens, New York, and I'm 36.
Wow. Thank you both. All right, let's get right into this discussion because there are people that come in on the show, and as they begin to come in, I just want to let you both know that they'll even ask some questions that people have. The first thing I kind of want to, what was the experience like when you realized that you were raising your children yourself? And granted, before you answer, of course, the world says, you know, that it's normal two-parent homes, but there are sometimes situations where it becomes a one-parent home. So can you kind of share, Erica, your experience so we can kind of get the gist of how did you get to this point?
Well, when I realized that I had to do it by myself, to be honest, it was extremely hard. It is still extremely hard every day. it's hard trying to juggle a full-time job and trying to juggle two children who are two different ages. And sometimes it is frustrating. Sometimes I don't have an outlet. Sometimes I don't have help. So it's extremely hard, but it's also rewarding. I'm not going to just display the things that are hard, but it's sometimes rewarding to sometimes come home from work and you're tired and the children greeting you at the door and giving you hugs and kisses. And so that is the rewarding part of it all. But I wish I had help.
Thank you. Thank you for sharing that. You know, Brian, the commercial that we show in the show, it was dealt with a dad, and I know you probably saw it, and he was dealing with his son. And one of the things that was said in that little segment, and I want you to chime in on this, it said that there are no programs for fathers, much less fathers in our Black communities that are single. What do you say to that?
I actually agree with it. It actually hit me, and I wanted to comment. So thank you for bringing that up, because like he said, it's like my role doesn't matter, and that is how society has painted us, as if we're not existent. Even the system, the way they make it work is this: you don't need a father. Here we are, the government will take care of you, and all of a sudden the government is the father because they make so many different outlets as far as welfare, food stamps, everything. It is a standard. I don't know if you're aware of this, and I hope I'm not going too far, but they force the father to be put on child support. They actually make that as part of the whole thing. Like, hey, we are going to make this man do something when, sometimes that's not even the situation. The system just automatically works against us, and we don't get enough shine.
Wow, that's interesting. And I want to touch on that a little bit. Erica, from your experience, and I know you're a mom that's single, based on what Brian is saying, do you feel that is exactly how men are portrayed as far as even single dads? Because we understand the plight of what women go through. Let me say it this way. We have the kind of thing where there is no turning back as moms. That's just what it is. No matter what hits us, we keep going. What is your take on what Brian is sharing with us about how the society paints that picture for the single father?
Yes, I understand where he's coming from, because there are some really great dads out there that are really doing what they have to do, and I'm sure that it is as difficult for the mothers. It is more than difficult for the fathers, because on my instance, when I work a full-time job, but it sometimes still is not enough. So when you try to get an assistance, they turn you down, saying that you make too much money to even try to get a little bit of assistance that you're asking for. So me being a single mother, I know it is 10 times hard for Brian to try to get that. Yes, they paint a picture of them, because most dads, I'm not going to say most, but there are a lot of dads that are doing what is right. And so a lot of times when the mother does go for assistance, they automatically ask you, well, where's the father? What is the father doing?
Right.
So they automatically want you to put the father on child support. For me, I don't agree with that. And I know there's a lot of women that may think that I am naive or whatever, but I believe that you go and fight for the child support, and sometimes you don't even get what you need.
Right.
To me, I feel like it is either a waste of my time, or I lose a day's pay because I have to go to the court and fight for something that is not even necessary. So I wouldn't go the child support route, because my children know every day that I work hard for them. And as a mother of two boys, I try to teach them, when you become a father, make sure that you take care of your responsibility. Make sure that you take care of your children. Don't just walk away and feel like, oh, the mother will take care of everything. You have some part in it as well. So you should have to own up to what you're doing. So I sympathize with Brian, because like I said, there are some men out there that are trying to do what they have to do, and they're not getting any help. And it's doubly hard for them, because the Black man is labeled as lazy or a deadbeat or something that's not over temper, and that's not always true.
Yeah, yeah, that was powerful what you said, and Brian agreed, and also one of the guests chimed in tonight and said, "No, you're not naive. Every situation is different." And I want to go to something you said, Erica, to you and Brian tonight. You mentioned the children. How has being a single father, Brian, and then Erica being a single mom affected your children? And I'll start with you, Brian.
Well, let me just give a slight backstory. Two of
Sure.
my two sons. I have a 12-year-old and a 10-year-old. That's from a previous marriage. So I was married when we had them, and we unfortunately didn't make it. We're divorced, and it was two separate households, but not just two separate households, two separate states. So I really had to raise young men from the state of, while I'm here in Atlanta, Georgia, while they're in the state of New York, and it was big for me to just be able to communicate with them, making sure that even if I've made many a trips where I don't know if anybody knows the distance, about 14-hour drive to
Yes.
go between Atlanta to New York. And I've had trips where I've literally left Friday, got there Saturday, had a birthday party, left Sunday morning, and was on my way back because I had work Monday morning. And it got to the point where my oldest son, he started to realize that. He started to realize and see that. So it kind of gave him a drive and an understanding, and I believe a deeper love for me as his father, because he sees that I tried to make sure that I was there no matter what. It really hit him when he actually took one of those drives with me, because he was like, wow, this is long. The younger one is my little carefree one. So, but it's starting to kick into him as well. And he sees it because he also feeds off his brother. When it comes to my daughter, there's nothing better in the world than me to her. And I feel like it's because of my presence. It's because of the way I treat her, the way I big her up, the daddy-daughter dates, just things of that nature. So I have to, be there. It's not an option for me.
Wow, that was powerful. What about for you, Erica? Your boys?
It's difficult because me being the mother, sometimes they're boys. I can't really relate to them, so I do the best that I can
Yes.
to understand what they're going through. Their fathers are not really active. They're there, but they're not active enough that I think that they should be. And it takes a toll. I have a 17-year-old and a 9-year-old. And my mother and I are the only parents that they really know. We do everything. If I can't pick them up, my mother picks them up. So there is a disconnect there somewhere with the fathers. Because yes, they do reach out to them, but it's not constant and it's not often. So there's a challenge at times because I'm the woman, that they challenge me a lot because I'm the woman. So I have to raise my voice, and I have to be stern.
Right.
And all they hear is the raising of the voice and the yelling. But that's the only way that sometimes I can get them to do what I need them to do, because they feel like, oh, I'm the woman, I'm the pushover, I do this. But if there was the male present, they wouldn't do that. And so it can be challenging in that situation. But they understand that just because I'm a woman does not mean that I still will check them. But I just, it would be a lot easier if there was a male presence there.
Right.
Something to bounce off, because what I may not understand, the father or the male presence would understand. So that's kind of difficult at times.
Understood.
Can I chime in on that? Because
please.
I feel for her with that, because even during the time, of course, a lot of divorces, there's not really a good understanding between the two that are being divorced, and you try to do your best. And I would say for the last 2 years, me and my ex-wife, we've been on great terms, actually real good friends. But the first couple of years, we've been divorced almost 7 years would be this year. So I would say the first 5 years was really rough. I mean, we couldn't talk on the phone more than 5 minutes without it being a disagreement. And the one thing that I will say that she would attest if she could speak to, is the fact that I always made sure my sons knew not to talk to their mother any or kind of way. And I would make sure not to speak to her any way, because again, as the man, I'm their example.
Right.
So
that's right.
And we was at each other's throats. I'm not going to sit here and sugarcoat it. It was bad, but it was never bad in front of them. And I feel for you, Erica, because I understand and I know and I've seen that trying, because fortunately, even when me and my ex-wife were not getting along, I would check that immediately. Like, no, we not doing that over here. So I do feel for you and I do understand that it is right, because that male figure, it's that lion's roar. You know what I mean? That kind of gets them in check and gets them in order. They feel that they can get over on the mother, or for whatever reason. I don't know what's in their head at that time, but they do try to do that. So I could. That's why I shook my head, because I know that for a fact to be true, and I know that I was a very an intricate part in making sure that they maintained a certain level of respect for their mother.
Yeah. Yeah, and you know what, Brian? I was going to mention that. I was going to ask the question to you and Eric. I'm glad you brought that point up, because I was going to ask what kind of conversations do you have with your children? In your case, Brian, you mentioned your ex-wife, and in Erica's case would be her children's dads. What kind of conversations do you have? Because the level of respect to the other parent still has to be there, but yet within yourselves, you have your own frustration. To your point, Brian, you have communication is not work at that point. It wasn't working. So I wanted to know about that. How do you keep the conversations where they still have that love and respect for the other parent, even though the two of you aren't getting along?
Well, with my oldest, his father was incarcerated for almost 13 years of his life.
Okay.
So he never saw any real interaction, but now the communication between us is good. We don't have a real issue. It's just that I would like his presence to be more. He lives in another state, so it's not easy. My youngest, the communication is bad. Okay. So I try not to talk too much to him. I text a lot. And he doesn't communicate well. So when his communication comes off, I see why my son will sometimes do something, because he sees his father say certain things. So he has a little snippy comments, or he'll say things like, if I say something, he'll say something back. It's no, I'm your mother, chill out. I have to, kind of like he said, roar. I have to get loud for him to back.
Yeah, right.
So
understood. Brian, did you want to say something to that before I move on to my next question?
Yeah, well, because again, I'm dealing with two different people for 3 kids. Because when it came to my sons, I just let them know, it was mainly my oldest, because he was the one that got affected by the divorce. So he had a lot of emotional buildup. My youngest, I didn't really have no problems on him. So there wasn't no real conversations. I kind of did things on a situational basis. So with the older one, there was a lot of things he was a lot of resentment towards his mother, because he didn't understand how everything went. All he knows is that he was with his dad one day and then he's not. And again, that's not all her fault. We both as adults have it, and I have to let him know, regardless of what happens between me and your mother, you will remain your respect. But you're only here because of her. That's she carried you, she nurtures you, and that's your caregiver. You're 100%. She's providing that roof over your head. You need to respect her. There's no reason for you to not. So that's one thing. And then when it comes to my daughter, she will cry for me and not over her mother. And she says certain things because she realizes certain things about her mother. And I just do my absolute best to just let her know, well, mommy loves you. Mommy does the best that she can. It's not that she's not right. It's just it shouldn't be her concern at her age.
That's right.
And I try to just, direct her in the right direction of, well, if this is not what you like, let's work on making sure we do things slightly different.
Right.
And but still remain your respect, remain your love. Again, you wouldn't be here without her. This is the person who's mainly providing this roof over your head, and you will remain respect. As a West Indian, respect is like, I'm Jamaican, so first and foremost, respect is everything. I don't care if you like me. I don't care if you like the situation. Just respect me, respect the situation, and let's just move forward in that fashion. So that's my approach.
T chimed in and she said, speaking well of the other parent while having internal frustration is a challenge that takes a lot of self-reflection and self-monitoring. We got to talk about that for a second, because I like that keyword that you said. Thank you, T, for that comment, self-reflection. How do you look at yourself in trying to navigate as a single parent because that's self-reflection when you take an audit, right? Or you take a look inside. What do you see about you when it comes to being a single parent? We've all had different upbringings, all of us. You probably never thought you would probably be a single parent, but what are some of the things you learned? What are some of the things you gleaned? I'll start with Erica.
I learned to I know it can be for me sometimes it's hard dealing with I'm tired and stuff to try to listen to them more and try to talk to them more. My mom and I joked today about saying that I used to tell her, you don't listen to me. So that was a big thing. To try to listen to them, even when I'm tired and exhausted, and spending time with them is key. My mom was a single parent as well, and she had to work 2 jobs sometimes, and I didn't get to see her a lot, and that was important to me. And then here I am, I work a lot, and I don't get to spend a lot of time. So sometimes when I come straight from work, I don't take off the uniform. They say they want to go to the park. They get in the car, we go to the park, because I know it's not easy. And during this pandemic was harder because they had to stay home and do remote while I had to go outside and work. I didn't have the option of staying home.
Okay.
I worked the entire pandemic and it was stressful. Not fearful, not knowing, am I going to bring something back to them? I have to spray my clothes down. They're wanting to hug me, and my uniform is dirty, and I don't want them to touch me. So they spent a lot of time inside and cooped up inside, and even when they were allowed to go out to the park. So it was important for me to take them outside and take them to, because I work 6 days a week sometimes, and they don't hardly get to see me. And that is the most thing was important to me, is spending time.
Yeah.
Right when my mom couldn't spend time because she had more than one job or she worked late. She only had me, but I had 2. So I have to try to juggle because they're 2 different ages and they require 2 different things. And so to listen to them, not be their friend, but to listen to them and to try to understand where they're coming from, because I was once a child, just in a different era.
Wow, that was powerful. For you, sir?
Well, like you said, nobody ever pictures themselves being a single father. I would actually say trying my best not to be a single father, or even just have my daughter in a single environment. It got me in the situation I'm in now of that, trying to communicate with my own frustrations, but yet still maintain a decent line of communication. The one that comment, Tay, we actually know each other very well for the last 18 years. We went to high school together, and we kind of talk to each other about many different things, and we have very similar situations where it's sometimes you're doing your best to communicate, and there's so many other frustrations that one person can sometimes take it out of context. And typically, I know in my situation, it's the other one. They don't like facts. They like to live in fictional. And when I start coming with certain facts in the most respectful manner possible, it gets out of hand, it gets out of control. And it's just rough to do. It's rough to do. It's rough to do. And it's sometimes it can be so draining. I'm one of those people that my emotions drain me. Sometimes I take so much out of me. I'm like drained to the bone. I just can't do nothing but just lay down and sleep, which is, I guess, one advantage to me not having my children 24/7. It gives me that time to rest, but I don't know how I would do without having that, because of how emotionally draining it can be, especially when in my situation, which we already discussed, a father's position is already just, the new thing is, it's what's it called, hashtag stepdaddy season and all that sort of stuff. We're already looking to be replaced. It's a culture at this point.
Yeah.
And it's it's sad when you just try to do your best to maintain that a standard, and it's still stomped on a rainy day. Like, you know what I mean? Because that splash goes far when that's stomped, and it just and the thing about it is, it's so easy to tarnish my name because I'm already I'm already a black father that's not married to the mother, and you just automatically say, yeah, that no good person. You know what I mean? And it's just rough. You got to push yourself past what people are making of you, because at the end of the day, with my spirituality, I know I'm responsible for what I have to do, and I do the best I can, because when I meet my maker, he's gonna say, well done, my child.
Well done. Right.
And no matter what anybody has put out there about me.
Right. Well, Cole Chosen asked the question. This is very interesting. Cole Chosen said, how about with the other parent? How do you find yourself communicating with them? And then Cole Chosen said, you're right. Sometimes we need help, intervention, someone like a counselor. Thank you for that. Have either one of you tried counseling when it came to communicating with the other parent?
No.
Okay.
I didn't, but I do understand counseling is very important, and I was just talking about seeking counseling because Brian said he gets a break. I don't get a break.
Right.
So the break is
Yeah.
never wanted and warranted. And my mom is the break, because while I work, she drops the smaller one, the younger one, off to school and picks him up. But when I am off, and that's rarely, I try not to. I try to take that back from her. I don't
Right.
to load that on her, because she's she's retired. I don't. That's not her responsibility. So I don't get the break. I don't get to, like where the fathers would get to go on vacations and go out and stuff. I don't get to do that, because I have a responsibility to take. If I can't go, if they cannot go, I don't go.
Right.
That's what I believe. If they can't go, I don't go. I really get a break. I'm from work to church. Work 6 days a week, church on Sunday. So there's no break. And sometimes, like Brian said, it's frustrating. It's emotionally draining.
Yeah.
And my break is at 3:00 in the morning when I'm talking to God. I need help.
Yes.
That's
Yeah.
my break. When everybody's asleep and I can't sleep, that's my break. I really don't get a break. And so counseling is needed for me. And so I'm looking to seek that. Someone who is not biased to the situation.
Right.
Someone who will tell me, you're not right. Someone will say, look at it in a different way, because I don't know. I don't know what it means to be a man. I only know what it is to be a woman, and raising two men is difficult. When
Right.
you just when they don't want to talk to you about the things in life, they don't want to talk to you about that because you're the mother. They don't want to display those things to you because you're the mother. Where do you turn when they don't want to talk to the fathers either? So who's going to tell them?
That's good. Thank you for that. Thank you for your transparency with that. Somebody heard that Erica talk about that silent. Bishop Jakes, I think, wrote a book or did a video one time called Silent Frustration. And I think we all can talk about silent frustration. What is your take on that, Brian, to what Erica was saying? Because that was really powerful.
Well, the thing about it is, it's funny how it's not funny, so let me not say that, but you understand the figurative speech.
Yes.
When she says you need that break, and I want to go on vacation and take my child, but I'm denied that.
Really? Okay.
And I take great pride in spending time with my child. Even my Father's Day, there's some people who want that day to themselves or what. No, give me my child. I'm not here. I'm here. I'm celebrating this day because of this child. It's so crazy to hear that she would want the help and want that opportunity and can't get it. But then there's a father like me who wants to be able to, in turn, maybe give my daughter's mother that opportunity, and I can't. Me and my ex-wife, she loves her break. My oldest son actually does live with me now. It's kind of like, hey, tag in, good job. It's my time to show him what he did. You did what you had to do.
Right.
And he lives with me now full time. He's visiting in New York right now. So we switch out with school and everything. But, it's just so crazy because counseling, me and my ex-wife did not get any counseling. It might have helped earlier in the time, but it was more our older child understanding where his mental was when he finally sat down with the both of us, because we never had a sit down, and once we had that sit down involved our oldest child and what did he want to do, where did he want to live, which then led to a 4-hour conversation for us to come to terms and understand where we went. And it all started with an apology. I apologized. She apologized. She listened to me, realized the things that she may have done wrong. She listened to me of me admitting the things that I did wrong, and she even brought up things. But now there's the flip side of that parent that doesn't want to hear anything or doesn't feel there is any wrong, and that's where you can't even make it to a counselor, which is what I did with when it comes to my daughter's mother. I would love to be able to better communicate with her. It's funny because I had a conversation with my fiance just maybe a few weeks ago, because my daughter's mother still communicates with my brother, and she admits to my brother that she could have did better, she could have did wrong, and I mean she did wrong, she could have did better, but she'll never admit that to me. And my fiance she asked me if she could just come to you and apologize, would you accept it? Absolutely.
Right.
I would love to go forward.
Right.
The relationship aspect, that's over and done with. I've moved on in life, but I would love it to be a situation where we can openly communicate, maybe even laugh. Why not? We have a great child, amazing child. I can never have, excuse me, the child I have. I could have had a daughter with anybody, but I could never had the one that I have, but with her. And that's the only thing that holds on to my little bit of, I guess you could say, respect and sanity when it comes to my situation with her. Okay. And counseling can help, but unfortunately, it doesn't fix all situations because you have to be in a situation to be able to even get there. And when somebody feels that they have all the answers, they're not going to listen to somebody else. They have all their answers up here, and so now they believe it here. So there's nothing nobody can tell them.
Yeah. Wow, that was good. Do you guys think that there's such a big difference in being right opposed to doing right?
Say that one more time, please.
A big difference in being right, because sometimes I'm listening to like the both of you talking, and I'm married, well, couples or whatever. It's a big difference in being right and trying to do right. And sometimes in situations you find that you want to stand on right, but it's not always about that. It's about doing what's right. And listening to the two of you talk about communication, and even like I said, for married couples, just learning the application of apologizing and asking for forgiveness, and also just be honest with each other, repenting, because nobody's perfect. We all make mistakes, we all offend, but just even having that heart to just repent for the things that we can say and do wrong. How do you feel about that? Because there is a big difference in always wanting to be right opposed to doing right. And let me tell you why I say that. Because when you get to the point you want to do right, it makes you seem like you're weak, but you're not weak. You understand my point? You're not weak in trying to do right. I feel, this is me, I always find that with God, I'm on top because I decide to do right. You understand what I'm saying?
I know, Erica, I'll let you usually go a lot, but I want to spearhead this one because this is something that actually like bothers me down to my soul, because you're right. Because as a man, doing the right thing can be a form of weakness because they feel like they're going to take you. My pride does not get the best of me. I'm okay with, stepping back a minute for the benefit of my child. I have no problem doing that. And sometimes I do look like the weaker being, but I don't feel weaker. You know what I mean? And that's the thing. Some people do things because they want to look a certain way, and it doesn't matter what the actual situation is. So because I may do something and the mother, quote unquote, wins from the situation, I didn't do it for the mother to win. I did it for my child to win.
I understand.
But because my child is winning, they feel like they've won because they got one over on me.
Yes.
And it is,
wow.
I had to mature to a point where I didn't let that frustrate me, because it was always like, all right, fine, you win. Ha ha, now I win. It's not about winning, because some steps that I do take to actually win, quote unquote win, is now going to in turn hurt my child, because now I've bruised this person's ego, and now they're going to use this child against me. Yes. And now my child is even more hurt, and that win is short-lived. Wow. So it's not worth the win.
That's right.
I feel better doing what's right than being right in certain situations. Because like I said, I can hit even my ex-wife right now. We go back and forth in a good way, and she'll be like, all right, you got that. because I'm very factual. I'm very analytical. Anybody that knows me can tell you I will break it down.
Mm-hmm.
And my daughter's mother cannot take that because it's calling people on their crap, in a better way to say it.
Okay.
And once they do that, it becomes defensive, it becomes loud, it becomes belligerent, it becomes ignorant.
Mm-hmm.
And now I have to just, okay, as opposed to sticking by my guns, as if you say, I got to put my gun away, take the magazine out. in other words, you know what I mean? Because I'm like, you know what? If I keep pushing what is actually true and actually right,
Mm-hmm.
I'm probably not gonna be able to see my daughter next week.
Wow.
Or they're gonna take her iPad away so that I can't speak to her.
Wow.
You know,
Wow.
it's
Wow.
I'd rather feel right than do right.
That's good.
I'd rather do right than be right. Excuse me. That's
no,
yeah.
we understood. That was powerful. What do you think about that, Erica? That was good, sir. Thank you.
Yes, I agree with him because many times going through just being a parent, period, with the other parent is very difficult. I always analyze it as two bulls fighting each other, and one's gonna just keep hitting someone until someone is killed. I felt at times the way Brian says his ex felt, like, you know what, I could just not make him see or let them see the kids. I could just do that. But the Holy Ghost on the inside of me says, no, you can't do that.
Right.
Regardless of if they're not the parent that I think they should be, they're still their father. And so I choose all the time. I don't care how upset I am with the other parents. I don't care what stupid comments they make. As long as even if it's whenever you want to see your children, I make them available for you. I do not. I think that is important because just because I have the upper hand to not do what's right, it is not right to not do what is right.
That's good.
I have to honor that the fact that they regardless of I feel that they're not good fathers. They love their fathers, and whatever little bond that they have, I don't want to be the cause of that bond breaking. Whether or not they come every week or call every day or every other day, or they come every 2 to 3 months, whenever you say I'm coming to get them, I make them available for them. If they want to call, they both have phones. They have their numbers. You don't have to talk to me directly. You can speak to them directly and leave me out of it. I just ask for the respect to say, recently I had a situation with my youngest father. He talked directly to my son to tell him he was coming to my home, which I felt was not acceptable because you should have said, I'm coming to do whatever. It's not the point that you're coming. It's the point that you have to let me know that you're coming. And we started going back.
Use the child as a middleman.
Yeah, we started going back.
That's what I was thinking.
And the text messages, and I said, you know what? When he's texting me, I'm feeling a certain way, and this is going to start a war. So let me get on the phone. And he said, well, I miscommunicated because the first thing that was said was, I said, well, you have to let me know because I have to let them know that you're coming so that they can let you in. They don't let anyone in unless I tell them to let someone in. Right. So he's like, oh, well, you tell whoever's watching my son that I'm the father. I said, wait, what are you talking about? now you're getting defensive. But I understand what you're saying and you don't understand what I'm saying. So let me clear this up. So then we both cleared up what we were trying to say. And I could have said, well, I'm right all the way. But I chose to say, I apologize if you thought I was trying to throw somebody else in your. Because I always teach my kids that you have to humble yourself. You can always be right. The world does not operate on you always being right. You have to look at it at the other person's perspective, even if you don't think that person is doing what you think that they should do. Maybe that's all I had to come to a realization. Maybe that's all they know how to do.
Right.
And so as long as you're willing, whatever, even if it's a small amount, if you're willing to be in your child's life at that small amount, I cannot stand in your way. But it comes with boundaries, because I am the one who has to pick up the piece and says, well, he said he was coming and he didn't come, or he said, da, da, da. I have to pick up the pieces. So I just ask them to be, if you're going to do something, be true to what you're going to do. Don't promise them and then you don't come, because then now I have to pick up the pieces. And
That's right.
I don't want to say things about your parent to them, because I don't want them to say anything to you about me. So I have to try to be respectful as much as I can and not speak about them in front of them or around them, because at the end of the day, that's still their parent. I chose to have a child with these fathers. So, sometimes I should have thought a little bit harder, but I still think that without them, I wouldn't have had the great two kids that I have. So
that's beautiful.
It's key, but being right all the time is not worth it when they're involved.
So. I want to add one thing, and I promise I'm sorry if I'm taking up too much.
No.
Let me ask you, Erica, what state do you live in?
New York.
So that father is the father because they signed that birth certificate, correct?
Well, one signed it and one didn't.
Right, but that's all you needed in the state of New York is that. So let me put you onto this. In the state of Georgia, even though I was there for the birth of my child and signed the birth certificate, I have no rights to my daughter. Because unless you are married, that child is not legitimized unless the judge says so. So unless I was to marry her mother or have a judge actually say you are the father, even though I don't feel I need DNA, because I know I kind of took a DNA already, but that's neither here nor there. The judge will actually have to grant me parental rights. So that comment about upper hand, that's what made me think of let me let you understand how much more difficult me and my situation is, because and why doing right as opposed to being right makes that much more to me. Because again, if I bruise this woman's ego, she literally can tell me I cannot see my child.
Got it.
I have no rights to my child. I'm now getting to the point where, because you take people's word, and I will never do that to you. I'll never deny your child until they deny you your child. And now you have to pick up the pieces, and which is my situation. I'm going through courts now to actually get the actual rights as a father to my child. So that upper hand, I commend you because you're doing it. And I'm not going to sit here and bash this woman. She's not a horrible person. She's who she is, and that be that. She's my daughter loves her mother. And like I said, Iris, I thank her for giving me my daughter. But it is a difficult struggle because I don't have a leg to stand on.
Wow. I have to chime in on that, and I wanted to go to ask another question, but I got to stay here for 1 second. That was very interesting, Brian. First of all, Erica, what you said was so powerful, and let me just go back here first. The key word that keeps coming out to me as the both of you were talking, and Cole chosen chimed in as well, is maturity. The fact that you both display a level of maturity, do you know that's honorable? I have to just salute the two of you tonight, because it takes a lot. And now chiming into what Brian is saying, Erica, it takes a lot of maturity to get to the place where you can really, it's just a certain understanding, something clicked in your hearts and your minds to allow you both to be where you are and who you are right now. Because think about it, when you're immature, no disrespect to anybody, our emotions run the gamut, right? Because they're terrible leaders.
Absolutely.
Somehow or another, God has given the two of you the grace to harness your emotions. I'm not saying it's easy, but something clicked in maturity in both of you, that both of you really are giving people a lot of good help. I really mean that tonight.
Thank you.
And Cole Chosen chimed in to both of y'all and said what the two of you have said was so good. And then Cole Chosen said, very good, brother, but a lot of people don't or can't see it that way. That hasn't been taught. That's the missing skill. This is the part I want to get to. Y'all both good. I wish my younger me was as mature as the two of you. And I'm 55 and I can raise my hand, call chosen, and I'm agreeing that sometimes I wish that younger me, all my kids are grown and out the house, could have kicked into that level of maturity, even for my husband and I. It has nothing to do with titles, nothing to do with pastoring, and because we're both has nothing to do with any of that. There is a level of maturity to me that kicks in when it comes to understanding where you are. And I just had to say that. I just wanted to salute the two of you. That was really, really powerful. I was supposed to have been taking a commercial break, but I'm not going to take a commercial break because no, really, you guys, it's so good to hear authentic and organic people talk about their real struggle with being a single parent. I want to ask this question to the two of you. What is it? What's your support system like? I'm sorry?
I just want to say one thing.
Go ahead.
It didn't happen overnight.
Right.
But one thing is I realized that the common denominator in this are the children. If we don't get it together, the children suffer. I know as my mom and my dad divorced, I think when I was small, and there was no communication with my dad. It's as if I was just dropped off the face of the earth. He didn't communicate. So it's not easy when the children don't. Sometimes, they say, oh, you don't talk to the children, leave the children in the child's place. But sometimes you have to talk to them because the children now that are growing today, they're very intelligent. They're not, okay, push them in the corner, tell them you can stay in the child's place. Yes, you can tell them that, but they see what's going on and they understand a lot more than you think they do. Mm-hmm. And if you don't tell them, they will think, oh, I don't know, maybe in Brian's case, I don't know, you could chime in. Oh, you're the reason why you're the reason why my mom's not here, or you're the reason why my dad's not here. So to not to create that in their head, you have to talk to them. You have to tell them. You don't have to give them all the details, but you have to tell them that you have to. For instance, my younger son, sometimes he doesn't want to go with his dad. I tell him, you have to go. Mm-hmm. That is your dad. You have to go. Sometimes mommy needs a break. I mean, it's not often at all, but you have to go. I don't want to go. He will cry. You have to go. Mm-hmm. You have to go because at the end of the day, that's still your dad. Right. And you still need a relationship with him. Now, when he gets over there, it's a different story. He doesn't call me. He doesn't say anything, but he still has to go. I don't want them to ever feel like I've kept them. Yes. From their fathers. Yes. As long as they want to see them, they have all access to them. But if you do the things that you do just to be vindictive and make the children suffer, yes, badly. And you don't want your children to ever suffer. You want to do what's best. You always say you want to do what's best for your children. Mm-hmm. Sometimes being the bigger person or being the better person is what's best for your children. You have to put your pride aside sometimes. Yes, they might have made you upset. Yes, they may have gotten under your skin. They said some stuff. But the children are the only thing that matters in between that, the two parents' relationship. So it's not easy. Right. Sometimes I just be like, no, I'm so upset. I don't want to feel. But I have to understand that those are my children's fathers, and they need their fathers. I can't teach them how to be a man. And even if they don't ever teach them, I do the best that I can with what God has given me. And prayerfully someone will come in and either step into that role. But they have to understand that you did whatever you could to try to keep the relationship. Now, if you're doing all you can to keep the relationship with the other parent and they don't want to have that relationship, do you close the door then? I can't make that decision. But that is the decision for the child to make. And as long as they have an open door to them, you have to be the bigger person in every situation because your children will suffer and lose tremendously. So that's right.
Brian is sitting on the edge of his seat, Erica. As you were dropping wisdom nuggets, Brian is sitting on the edge of his seat. Brian, chime in on that one.
Because you hit me right where it hurt. And the reason being is because at a certain point, I would have my daughter one whole week, a Sunday to Saturday situation. And then she would go to her mother for Sunday to Saturday. Mm-hmm. It was a good situation. So much so that even on me and my daughter, we kind of forged a bond over one of my favorite things, which is watching wrestling. No judgment, please.
Mhm.
And she watches it with me, and it got so much that we were spending time that even on my week that I did not have her, Monday, Wednesday, and Friday, I would still go to her mother's house, and just even after work,
Wow.
sit down. During COVID, come home, shower, of course, because I was essential and client facing. Come home, shower, then go another 30 minutes the opposite way to go sit down with her for 2-3 hours until she fell asleep. And one day, I still don't understand or know what happened, but her mother got in her feelings about something. We
Mm.
were disagreeing. I came to pick up my daughter, and my daughter, I best believe, was doing some work or something. She said something very crazy to me, so I just said, "You know what? Come on, baby, let's go." She's not going anywhere. It turned into a little bit of a match. I'm a nonviolent person. I do not believe in speaking to a woman disrespectfully, and that definitely means that I'm not getting to the point of putting hands. Not gonna do it. It's not
Yeah.
in me. And she called the cops on me still because I wanted to take my daughter with me. This goes back to having the upper hand.
Right.
So now she threatened to call the cops on me, and I couldn't leave. But now my daughter just sees the cops and now knows that I can't go with her because her mother said, no, you can't go with him. She wasn't even going to let me say goodbye to my daughter. The officer said, bring her outside because she's down about to rip the roof off crying to see me. Now, this was back maybe, I want to say maybe September, October. And to this day, still, every now and then, she still remembers that. And she just doesn't in her book, she swears her mother does not want me to be around. She wants to ruin our relationship. Let me let you know, my daughter is 5. Sorry, she's about to be 6. My
Really?
daughter is 5 years old. And she says, I don't understand why mommy does not want me to see you. Why I don't understand why mommy had to call the police on you when she was yelling at you.
Wow.
She's 5 years old. And I had to really kind of think because it's just like she always surprises me and puts me into a further step ahead of where she's at. But then I have to remember, and it's constantly something where even though it was unjustified, I still have to let her know, well, mommy felt that she needed to do that. So, don't be upset with mommy.
Right.
Mommy's not going to break our bond. Mommy loves you. I love you. And again, eating just so I can do the right thing instead
Yes.
of being
Yes.
right.
Yes.
Because I did nothing wrong. Yeah, we had a little bit of a shouting contest, but I did nothing wrong.
Mhm.
And it has now officially scarred my daughter that even when she sees police, they say kids' imaginations will go so far and she'll say, well, come on, daddy, let's go hide somewhere the police can never find you so that we can spend time together. She's 5 years old. And I have to try to reprogram her
Yes.
that, everything's fine, baby. Everything is okay. And that's what put me at the edge of my seat because it's
Yeah.
just like, how do it's so hard. And I truly give it to, my relationship with God and
Yes.
just my growth period as an individual, my transition from being a grown boy to being a man that allows me to sit there and still help my daughter knowing that she's damaged by this
Mhm.
and her mother has not even tried to clean it up. Her mother's not even tried to have a situation, and every now and then I'll say something to her mother and she was like, and I'll do it again. And I'm like, you really got no lesson from this. And it's just,
You gotta pray for her,
yeah,
Brian. You just have to pray for her. You
I
Yeah.
gotta
do.
That's
have
what
I
to
do.
practice her.
I really
Yeah.
do.
I
And
agree with Erica. I agree with Erica on that one.
it's just that's the thing when you got to do things to just make sure the child is okay because they will come up with things.
Yes.
And just a little insight onto my son. My son for years held on to thinking that he was the reason me and my wife split, which is again what led to me and her having that 4-hour conversation after that initial conversation with him. Because it's like, all right, we got to talk because our son has been battling for this for at that point 5 years now. We split when he was 5. He was turning 10. and he's held on to this feeling of where the reason why he split. We as parents have got to do better and put everything to the side, because guess what? Did nobody lay us down but ourselves.
That's
You know
right.
what I mean? This thing back in the day with matchmaking. I know you, you know me. We did what we did. It is what it is. We have to find a way to put everything else to the side and look at what is the most important, because our goal is to raise a better future than our present.
Mm,
And if we keep being upset with each other with our past, we're throwing our past on our future, which is our
mhm,
children.
Yep.
mhm.
You know,
Yep,
that's the difference.
that's
That's the
it.
difference between babies raising babies and adults raising babies.
Mhm,
And it's all about maturity and communication.
that's it. And boy, so much was just said. I'm gonna have to have you guys come back on here again. But so much was said. But Brian, when you were talking, I thought about what Erica was saying. It was almost exactly verbatim to what she was saying about how the child gets affected when things are done like that. So the both of you have dropped some serious wisdom tools. And to my viewing audience, I just have to say, both of them are just, you guys are absolutely amazing, because it takes courage to be able to be transparent and talk about real life issues like that. But I guarantee you, even if somebody watches when you play it back, somebody's going to pick up what you said and they needed it. And you're also going to be featured on the Inspired Living Network, which is shown across the country. And they're going to hear the tools that you said. And let me just say this to you before we close the show. Real Talk came about because I really felt in my heart God wanted us to give a real message to real people. So I want to say to the two of you, you have really spoke truly about what people are going through, to single parents that are suffering, that are trying to get along with the other parent, that are going through, trying to keep the children within an alignment, to keep them safe and secure from emotionally, physically, so forth. So you guys really said some good things. So I'm going to give you about 10 seconds, and only because we have to close the show. Just say something to a single father, Brian, and then Erica, likewise, to a single mom that's out there that just needed to hear just one more piece of wisdom before we close the show.
One thing I'm going to say first, regardless of how you feel emotionally, respect your child's mother. They go through more than you realize, and they have a lot that they have to do. But at the same time, for those fathers that are doing the right thing or don't know what to do, just keep going. There's no instruction manual with this. Follow your heart and find a good example. Remember, put yourself in that place that no matter what, you will not lose. But remember, you don't always have to win. Just
Mm.
be there. You know what you did. You know your responsibility. It's a bigger than you. That's it.
Thank you, sir. Erica?
Yes. My take, my what I would like to say is just think about what the child would have to go through. Being a single mother is not easy. It is one of the hardest jobs I have ever had. But you have to do it with humility. You have to do it with maturity, and you have to be able to give your children an example that they could go by, either whether it is a girl or a boy. That
Mm-hmm.
how as being as a single mother, how boys would treat their mother is how they will treat their girlfriends and wives.
That's right.
So you have to show them, even if you're not getting along with the other parent, that you have to make it work. You have to make it work in some kind of way, even if it's not for you or the parent is just for the child's sake. You have to communicate. Communication is the biggest key, and that just pray. Prayer got me through a lot. Prayer is the key to everything. I know it sounds like a cliche for the church.
It's not. It's real. It's not.
God is the reason why I'm still standing. God is the reason why my children still have their mother. My mind sometimes it gets frustrated and it gets to wandering, but I had to go to God. And it's true when they say God should be your first choice, your first everything. You should go to him first and then seek counseling. So pray, seek counseling, and do what's best for the child. That's what I would say.
Wow. Well, to my viewing audience, I really want to thank Erica McAllister and Brian Gibson for being on Real Talk. They really talked about real issues that someone out there is facing. So if you know somebody that's struggling with being a single parent, tell them to watch the replay, and you might even want to do a watch party. But they have really given us some wisdom tools. Thank you again for being on Real Talk. Thank you to my guests. We will see you next week on Real Talk with Jean Price. Bye-bye.
Bye, everyone.
This week on Real Talk with Jean Price.
Now that I was becoming a single mother, I had no idea who I was or what my brand was. Once my daughter was born, I just went into survival mode. And it wasn't pretty, but it all got done. The breastfeeding, the burping, the changing, the round-the-clock feedings, the shushing, the bouncing, the 104 fevers, the ear infections, everything that came with being a single mom, or a mom, my daughter and I made it through.
So I went on to Google and I typed in black fathers in Toronto. And what I got was hits on pimps, deadbeats, and a bunch of negative stuff. So I took it a step further. In my neck of the woods in Malvern, they have this family agency that had great programs for young parents. So I assumed that they had a program for fathers. I went there and the receptionist looked at me when I asked her my question. She looked confused. And she's like, we have programs for mothers, grandmothers, guardians, but nothing for fathers, not to mention black fathers. So I remember the feeling I had when I left the office. I was frustrated. And again, feeling isolated. Because I'm saying if a family agency has all these programs, but nothing for fathers, then you're telling me my role is not important.
I haven't been live. On Real Talk with Jean Price. Upcoming on Real Talk with Jean Price. Not go back, but turn back. I don't think you do get because you don't go back so far. Become that warrior, that other sister. I dare everybody that's listening to your voice, that I can see the feed, that's listening to my voice. I dare each one of these sisters to get behind somebody else. We don't know what they're facing.